I'm Satorri, and welcome to my channel. This is the first dedicated Let's Play kind of video I'm going to make, because I recently decided I wanted to pick Kerbal Space Program back up again. So I have played it before. I got fairly deep into the content. For the uninitiated, we are going to play a game mode. We're going to call this Save Wraith, because it's not ominous. There are 3 game modes in Kerbal Space Program. The sandbox mode, which basically gives you all of the parts, all of the features available from the beginning, no currencies, no exploration, no need to do anything. You can build anything you want from the get-go. There's science mode, which introduces the first of the currencies, which is science. Science is what you use to, so you accumulate it by doing scientific experiments, like, say, taking the temperature of the air in your space center, or say trying to read temperature in the upper atmosphere, or observing the effect of orbiting the moon on materials, vague non-specific materials. These will give you science. That currency, which is science with a capital S, is used to unlock new parts, so you can make bigger, better rockets. It's kind of the fun core gameplay advancement, technology advancement in the game. But then there's also career mode. So career mode introduces 2 more currencies. There are funds, which are obviously money, which you get by conducting contracts. And it also introduces reputation, which has more to do with the quality and the sort of contracts you get. And then in addition to these, you still have science, which controls how you get new technology. So career I find to be the most enjoyable. I mean, science will work in a similar fashion, in that it gates your exposure to technology. And that, I think, is important because, especially if you're new to the game, having all of the parts at once, and there are a lot of parts, some with fairly subtle nuances, is really helpful to start, with little bits and build your way up to the more complex, higher technology bits. But I also enjoy the career that it has you balancing funds and upgrading buildings and doing that sort of activity. It feels a little more full experience. And I appreciate that they left the other game modes in there, because it really does give you a choice. So we're going to pick our flag, and we're going to go with this fun, non-specific black, because we named it Wraith, and somehow those are related. So, welcome to Kerbal Space Center. In a moment we'll see the pristine pastoral. Isn't that just lovely? Look around, we're on a nice little spit, because if you're going to launch something, it's really nice to be next to water so you can splash down in case of an emergency. So, first building to know about, and the building we'll probably deal with the least, is the administration building. Among those 3 currencies, these basically give you the ability to trade one for another. So there'll be one that, say, will let you get extra science at the expense of reputation, or similarly get more science at the expense of funds. So it'll take a cut out of every time you get monetary income and feed you a little bit more science instead. I like it, but I don't use it very much, because really I think it only becomes significant when you start to devalue currencies, which really I didn't find happens very early. And the more I tried to mess with one, the more I'd find myself starving on another, which just kind of forced me to bounce back and forth. Next we have our astronaut complex. So these are our 4 starting Kerbals. The Kermans, everybody on the planet named Kerman. You can hire more, though it's very expensive, and generally I find the most effective way to pick up new astronauts is actually to rescue them, which we'll get contracts for fairly regularly. Next is mission control. So this is with the lovely Gene Kerman, who is our mission controller. So to start off, launch our first vessel is definitely one of the first things we'll do. You see it awards, so this little sign is the sign for Kerbucks, the currency. The little blue atom symbol is the sign for science, and the star is the sign for reputation. This one we're going to do very easy, so quick money. To start off, until we upgrade the building, we can only have 2 contracts at a time. So we're also going to pick up gather scientific data from Kerbin, because this is really easy. We'll do this on our first launch as well. Now we've got our missions. We'll look at okay, so we have the tracking station. As you upgrade it, you'll actually start to have information about the planets as you collect science and details on them. you'll be able to look more closely at them to find your vehicles, wherever they may end up, and to switch between multiple missions, because later in the game you'll have satellites and space stations and landed bases that have very long tenure, and you'll have, when you have a rocket flying to another planet, you can have journeys that will take, over a year of game time. So obviously you're not going to stay with that and just wait necessarily. You can time warp in the game. So if you want, you can just wait for that rocket to arrive. Personally, I tend to fly missions in the middle, some contracts, build up money, because building rockets is expensive. And building a big rocket that's going to go to another planet is extra expensive. Then we have our assembly buildings, the spaceplane hangar, which obviously deals with more buildings that will fly from the runway. And then we have the vehicle assembly building, which is not specifically named, but is designed to build vertical takeoff craft, really rockets, which is why it's connected to the launch pad. So without further ado, let's build our first rocket from our incredibly spare parts that we have available to us at the start. So at the start of every good rocket, we're going to have a command module. I'm just going to tidy up these mods just a little bit. So this mod right here, this KER, is Kerbal Engineer Redux. Basically what this does is it conducts a lot of the math that's otherwise hidden in the game and gives you the values straight out. If you know what you're reading, and we'll discuss that later, it can be really, really helpful in fine-tuning your craft. It doesn't actually change the game in any way, it just gives you information that is otherwise hidden in the game, or indirectly represented. So the game will tell you about the weight of a part, and it'll tell you about the thrust of a rocket, but it won't tell you these values that actually have more significant meaning. What you can, and I have done in the past, is to actually build a spreadsheet that'll do all this calculations for you. But instead, I have this add-on that just does the calculations on the fly in the game, and takes directly from it, which removes the error of me transcribing this into another document, which I really appreciate. So at the start, we have no fuel tanks. All we have is a little solid fuel booster. It's the cutest little solid fuel booster. We have no disconnects, we have fins, we have parachutes. I think if we're going to land, we should probably put a parachute on it. I think that's a good idea. What do you think? We'll stick a solid fuel booster on there. So you have an idea. Solid fuel boosters cannot be, they have no throttle control, so they're always on, always off. Accordingly, it'll be helpful to set a thruster limit, and to set the solid fuel, the fuel included, if you want. We're not going to go crazy. We're just going to launch this sucker straight up and let it fall back down. So we're going to make this pretty light, pretty simple. And because we want to do science to get that contract done, we're going to stick some mystery goo on there, because why not? So hitting the X key gives you the symmetry control, so you can do 2, 3, 4, I think up to 8. That's really overkill. The mystery goo container that you're seeing now lets you observe the goo and collect information about it, but each canister is a single use, so that will only give us one read. We're just going to stick 2 on there so it's nice and balanced. We're going to fix that so that it's actually balanced, so they actually look like they're, there we go, that's more like it. And because why not, let's pull out all the frills. We're going to put some fins on there to keep it stable, and we're going to put 4 fins, and we'll put them at an angle. So isn't that just a cutest little rocket? We're just going to move this down to the floor. That wouldn't be handy. So we're going to fix our staging. So what KSP allows you to do is prepare rocket staging. Later on, this will be a lot more meaningful and significant. The parachutes and booster, obviously we'll want to hit the booster and not hit the parachutes right away, because if we deploy the parachute before we take off, we could damage it, and then we won't have a parachute to land, and without landing softly, we explode. Exploding is not good for living. Finally, we're going to assign our crew. I love Jebediah, but Valentina is our go-to pilot. So as I mentioned, there are 3 classes. There are pilots, scientists, and engineers. Pilots carry the distinction of being able to handle stability controls on the rocket, and that's all we need right now. We're going to call our first rocket, please, no, boom. because we don't want it to explode. It's just a very simple rocket. We're going to launch it into space, and that'll be that. Okay, we're not going to launch it into space. It's a tiny, simple solid fuel rocket. I set the thruster limit on it so that it wouldn't just rocket too far too fast. I'm going to leave the full fuel in there because, hey, let's see how high it goes. It's all nicely balanced, so there's no reason it should come off. So here goes. Wraith Space Industries, first rocket flight ever. Please don't explode. Okay, so we're going to throttle up. Not that it matters because the solid booster cannot be throttled. We're going to observe our mystery goo while sitting on the launch pad. And there it is. Look at that. When we recover this, we're going to get 3 science. This could return 0.9 science if it were only transmitted. So if we had an antenna and we were on another planet, we could transmit the information back and get a little bit of the science. And then we'd get the rest of it if we ever actually managed to get that experiment home. So that gives you some nice opportunities. If we didn't want to, we could reset it and not use our single-use mystery goo pod. But of course, we're going to keep it, because keeping is fun. So we're also going to take a crew report, which will also give us a little more science. Yay, science! Woohoo! And our other mystery goo container, we're actually going to observe once we're flying. So, T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make rocket go now. Whee! And there we go, we're flying. It's so exciting. Look at that nice, gentle upward thrust. We're going to turn on SAS for just a little bit of stability control so we keep flying straight up until our fuel burns out. You can see the little fuel gauge there, and it's out. So when we about hit our peak elevation, we're going to observe the mystery goo. It doesn't really matter, it actually works by zones, and I don't think we're going to get out of the lowest zone. But look at that, we actually got a very reasonable boost off of that first rocket. Oh yeah. Passing 13 kilometers. Oh yeah, oh wow, it's really far down there. And look at Valentina, she's just loving life. Everything is wonderful. And looks like we're slowing down now. Our speed relative to the surface is at 150 meters per second and falling. When that hits 0, we'll punch the observe button. Yeah, we're definitely not going to reach 20 kilometers from eyeballing it. Ooh, but we're getting so close. Okay, and we're not going to orient. It's going to orient all on its own as we now plummet back towards the Kerbal surface. Ooh, I do believe we hit upper atmosphere. I don't remember the exact. Okay, we're going to turn on SAS so that's a little less. Ooh, yep, it wants to go straight down. We'll let it go straight down. Although, we're going to want to hit our parachute at the right time. So it's safe to deploy the whole way. We don't want to be going too fast. And generally speaking, if we hit it too soon, so the parachute won't fully deploy until below 1 kilometer. We don't want to wait quite that long. We do want it to slow down a bit, and we just destroyed it. So, sheet destroyed, too fast. So, we have this handy-dandy button, revert to launch. So basically, we're going to say, hey, that was all a simulation. It didn't actually happen. We were just seeing what would happen. Ha ha ha, wasn't that funny? Now we know not to deploy our parachute so high. We should definitely deploy it when we're going slower so that we can drag the craft all the way down. Because I'm going to assume, so one of the mods that I have installed is called Ferrum Aerospace Research, which basically incorporates realistic aerodynamics and flight stresses. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We're going to shoot this rocket up into the sky like we did before. We're going to time warp just a little bit because time warping in lower atmosphere is dangerous because it shortcuts some of the physics calculations. But in this case, we're not doing anything terribly complicated. So we're going to let it go. And we're going to hit the parachute Alright, we need to remember to do our science when we're up high. We're going to hit the parachutes early to slow our descent all the way down. So the parachute in the upper atmosphere really won't do all that much. It won't fully deploy. You'll be able to see that once I hit the button. But what it will do is it will give us the littlest bit of drag so that we don't hit too fast a terminal speed. Yeah, we're time warp 1. Alright. So we're just about at peak speed, so we're going to collect that science. It's delicious. Upper atmosphere. We love it. Alright. Now we're going to let it start coming back down a little bit. So I believe the threshold, it looks like the threshold is at 19K on the atmosphere gauge. I believe 17.5 is the point where you pass about 10% atmosphere. So we have our parachute deployed now. And you can see it's super slack because there's really no atmosphere for it to catch. But you'll also see our speed is not accelerating quite as fast as it could be. And hopefully we can't pick up enough speed to actually... Nope. Yep, we can definitely destroy the... Okay. 3, 2, 1, make rocket go now! Oh, we forgot to measure a thing. We'll measure it when we get back down. I'm gonna time warp. Let's do the time warp again. It's just a step to the left. Off into the wild blue yonder. And look at the lovely scenery. You can see the mountains off in the distance. Charming textures of Kerbin. Our home away from home. The island chains. We're going to time warp down. 1 minute up in our flight. And we're in the upper atmosphere. Because it does look like we crossed that at 19. So we're going to collect Kerbin's upper atmosphere mystery goo of observations. There we go. Crew report, upper atmosphere. Now without the failures, let's see what happens when we activate our parachute further down where it can really slow us. Just accelerate back towards the ground because that's not terrifying. So the general rule of thumb I've found in the past with opening parachutes, we usually try to do it 3-4 kilometer height, and generally we like to be below a certain speed. Yep, chute's destroyed. Yep, we're all gonna die. It may be that we should just angle her sideways, shoot her out over the ocean, and then she won't get super high, won't be able to accelerate on the way back down. Maybe that's the best thing. Okay. All systems ready. Took our first observation. We'll take the next from flight. And let's tip her sideways so that we can launch out over the water. Come on, reaction wheels. You can do it. You can do it. Angle her out. Ah, that's the way. Not going to get quite the same altitude. But we're going to turn that push into horizontal motion instead of vertical motion, which means we'll have less going straight up, which means less to come back down, less of the potential to build up. Relative to the surface, we're slowing. We're going to have a nice, long, lazy arc. Sideways. We're above 10K. Is that lower atmosphere? Okay, this is while flying at Kerbin. Alright, we'll take it. That's a nice bunch of science. And we love science. Science is wonderful. So we're getting the yellow at the moment, which means it's not safe to deploy. Definitely unsafe to deploy now. I don't know if it's going to get any safer as we accelerate towards the ground. This is slightly anxiety causing. Well, let's just find out what'll happen as we get closer and closer. Yep, super unsafe. Super unsafe. Not slowing down. Just gonna smash into the ocean. Oh dear. Sorry, Valentina. Okay. New plan on our first launch. We're gonna super reduce the fuel. We're not gonna go very high or very far. There we go. We're at 10% fuel. Slow thruster. We're just gonna putter up into the air and then come back down. And we will do this with all of the safety, and we will save our pilot, and everything will be fine, and we'll get a little bit of science, and we'll get better equipment, and then we'll do a proper launch next. Okay, so observing on the launch pad. Yay! SAS on. Real no frills. Just pop it right up into the air, come right back down. 3, 2, 1, make rocket go now. Oop, and that's all. There we go, just a little putter up into the air. Already slowing down. Very safe. Crew report. All is safe. Nice and slow. Slow, slow, slow. Oh god. Ow. Okay. She survived. The science survived. We're calling this one a win. So what if we blew up the rocket? That's what early exploration is for. So now we're going to recover our vessel. We're going to celebrate the fact that we have an intact command module and science. Look at that. 21 science. We are like science pros. Like scienceologists. They should have a name for science people. People who do science. I don't know what it is. But look, we also got our command module back. We got our mystery goo back. I have to remember to remove the monopropellant from it when we're not going to use it. Old memories. Old skills to recall. And look, Valentina got 1 experience. She is so experienced. And 7 reputation. Because we shot a rocket into the air. Look at that. And what that allows us is look at this beautiful tech tree full of scientific excitement. Like experimental electronics, a radioisotope thermoelectric generator for space. But for now, we're just in the beginning, and we have the science, and we're definitely going to want all of this. Later on, we'll start being a little bit more picky about which we take first. But we definitely want all of the rocket parts, and more science, because we want to do science and things. Now, these take 15, 18, and 20. It's interesting, I thought these used to all be at the same tier, all have the same cost. But it looks like they now have different costs, and it looks like survivability is the cheapest. That's good. We only need 4 more science, 3.5 more science, and we can be safer. Safer is good. We like safe. Then we'll be safe. Then we'll have a safer craft, and we can shoot farther up into the air, and then everything will still be fine, and we're fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. You know what? Since we're not actually taking off, here's what we're going to do. We're going to swap in our scientist. So what a scientist allows you to do. For starters, when we have an experiment like the science bay or the mystery goo, the scientist can actually hop out and reset it. You know, we don't even need a parachute. It's fine, kids. We're just doing science. Second, so otherwise it's a one-shot. So you can anyone can collect data from it and store that data, but it can only be reset and remeasured if you have a scientist. The other thing a scientist does is they actually give you a % boost to the science you get when you finish the mission. So we're going to call this Please No Boom to Plan C. Everything is fine. Now, our trusty scientist, Bob, is going to take a crew report. Excellent. Well done, Bob. We're going to observe our materials. Look at that. Wonderful. Fantastic. That's great. And then we're going to recover our vessel. Ta-da! All done. Super. Fantastic. Wonderful. Excellent job. Everybody. Good job. Champagne. Pop the champagne. And look. Now we have 9 more science for a total of 20, which will allow us to buy safety equipment. Isn't that just wonderful? we get a heat shield, we get landing struts, we get parachutes in a few varieties. So, just so you know, there's a drogue chute and the radial mount chute. So the radial mount chute is just a full-on chute. The drogue chute is designed to deploy at high altitudes. It doesn't give you all of the slowing power of a normal chute. Acts as a secondary chute. So if you're coming in really fast, you can deploy this higher up and it'll slow your ship down preemptively. And it's meant to be kind of secondary disposable chutes. But now we have more safety gear and we're back down to 5 science. If we want to get new stability stuff, that's going to take us 18. If we want more rocket bits, that'll take us 20. So, now we can launch a rocket safely because we can just load it up on chutes, which is wonderful. We like that. So, let's make a brand new rocket. We'll need a new command pod. It's way up here. Remembering how to... Okay, so shift and mouse wheel to zoom. Otherwise, the mouse wheel defaults to elevation, which is fine. We're okay with this. We're going to put Valentina back in there because she's our ace pilot. Now, we can do liquid fuel. Liquid fuel is fun. What we'll do is we'll actually make this look like a real rocket because we're going to do some high science now. High science. Not the kind with you know, medication, but rather we are going to launch you up high. Up into the high atmosphere. And we're going to take measurements. It's going to be exciting. Everybody's going to have a great time. And then you're actually going to come back down. And you're not going to explode. And everybody's going to be happy about that too. You see? You see? We have plans. So, we have a... Do we want 3 chutes? Why not? Let's load her up. 3 parallel mount chutes. So we're going to actually make this 4. We're going to move these down to just 2. Here. And we're going to put them in a place that's aesthetically pleasing. Now, we're ready for upper atmosphere. We're not trying to leave. We're trying to test the flea. But we also want to decouple it, because we're not going to salvage it. We're not re-entering, so we're not going to mess with heat shields. We're going to throw fins on there. I don't think they're actually going to help us in any way, but they look pretty. It looks like a rocket, yeah? So that's fine. We have all of the science that we're going to have. We have all of our safety. We're not doing liquid fuel yet. Okay, so Valentina in the pilot seat. We have 4 parachutes, and now we're going to fix our staging. So we're going to fire the thruster. We're going to disconnect the thruster. We're going to hit the parachutes. And we're going to separate out the parachutes. So these activate the same way as that, but they'll give us 4. So you can see the deployed drag goes up to 500. The deployed drag on this goes up to 500. Now we have 5. So we've quintupled our drag. Even if we do this as a throwaway, these should be able to slow us down a lot more. We have our mystery goo. We have 2 so that we're balanced, although I don't think we have 2 things to measure. But we'll find out. Now we know at 45 thrust and full fuel complement before, that sent us up over 1900. That sent us to out of the atmosphere, it said. So we could do a measurement there. This might compromise our ability to do the contract testing the parachute, but let's face it, that's easy. We want more science. So we're going to call you what a drag with exclamation points because we're excited about doing science. What? We are. It's true. Now, we have unused monopropellant that we're going to remember to remove. We are not concerned about our high transonic Our rocket costs less than 6 grand, which is good, fine, wonderful. We have our stages fixed. I think we are ready to go. Oh, nope, 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 nope. We don't want to leave. We want to launch. Launch for science. Science is exciting. Okay. SAS. Engage. Thruster. Throttle to full. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, make rocket go now. Woohoo! Let's do a little acceleration. Up, 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 up we go. Fuel. 3, 2, 1, done. So we're a bit heavier, so it looks like we're not going to peak quite as high. We're going to observe one of these, because why not? We'll get a little bit of science. We're over 10 kilometers. Now. Gonna measure you for more science. Gonna do you for no science, so we're not gonna bother with that. Now, it says that these are safe to deploy. Also says it's not going to deploy until much further down. Oh, yep. Oh, right, we forgot. Couple. And we're gonna, right ourselves. Oh no, we lost our chutes. Sometimes I feel like I'm bad at this. I don't recall being this bad at this. Deep breaths, people. Breathing is important. 3, 2, 1. Make rocket go now. Observe that mystery goo while flying. Observe that material bay while flying. Yay, science. And I do not believe that we got... Oh, we did. Yes. Oh, no, we were not high enough. We were not high enough. Now we're going to deploy all of the parachutes and see if we can land softly. Nope, we are definitely accelerating. Why are we accelerating so much? I have no idea. We have a lot of shit. I'm calling shenanigans. Thank you all for watching. Look forward to seeing you next time. Come back and we'll explode less, I promise.